Today we're gonna be working on another SQL question. This is Leetcode question number 1555, 1555. Bank account summary. We have been given the users table. We have a user ID, a user name, and the credit, which is an integer. And user ID is the primary key for this table. Of course, like the every row is gonna have the current credit information for each user. Then we have a transaction table, we have a transaction ID, who paid, and like I think this is going to be an integer for like basically kind of a foreign key to this user ID. And paid to is also like this person paid this much amount to this person, and transacted on, so this is the time. So over here the date at which the transaction happened. So this one transaction underscore ID is the primary key for the table. Yeah. LCB Leetcode Bank helps its scorers in making virtual payments. Of course, what they are saying is like write an SQL query. Actually, let's read this one. We want to find out the current balance for all users and check whether they have breached their credit limit if their current credit is less than 0. So if the current credit is less than 0, we're gonna say that yes, they have breached the credit limit. So after all the transactions, and if it is above 0, then we're gonna say no. Nice. So write an SQL query to report user ID. We're gonna be giving you the user ID, the particular user ID, and then the username, and then the credit, the current balance. I think the credit is the current balance after performing transactions. Yeah. So the credit is gonna be the current balance after performing the transaction, and the credit limit, and that's gonna be either yes or no, in any order. Okay, so these are the different users, 1 2 3 4. They started with these many credits, and these were the transactions made. And at the end, we're gonna be showing the transaction, the credit. If someone paid something, like the first user paid this much amount, and it started with 100. Really? Oh, so yes, so it started with 100. He started with 100, he paid 400, and now he is left with minus 300. But then he was given another 200. So in the end, he still has, he's still short of of $100 integer in terms of the credit. So that's gonna be, it's gonna be, the credit is gonna be negative. Yeah. So then we're gonna say that yes, the credit limit has been breached for him. The other ones, there is no. Okay. So there are two things in here. One, let's talk about the inner loop first, like a temporary data. So we are looking at the transaction. This is the transaction table, this is the users table. Looking at the transaction table, right, what you need to do is to paid by as user ID, negative of amount as transaction. So we have user ID and transaction, and union all paid to as user ID and the amount as transaction. So when you are paid by that particular user ID, you're going to be saying that the amount is negative. When the same user is paid to that user ID, you're going to say that we need the amount to be positive, because that user is getting some money, so that is going to get added from the transaction. And we are going to be doing like union all, so we're going to have multiple entries of that, and that is going to be T. So T will have the user ID, will have the transaction amount. Then we're gonna say that this, oops, sorry. Then we're gonna say that get the user ID as user ID. we're gonna be getting the user ID, right? We're gonna be getting the users dot username, all the username, and then the credit, right? And the credit, if not null, the sum of the transactions, because we started with the credit, right? That credit and sum of the transactions he did, because let's say the thing is that the logic is that maybe that user did not have any transactions, so in the end he's going to be left with whatever the credit the user had at the beginning. So this information, this sum, is only gonna uh, play its role if the data is coming, like if we have any data about that user in the transaction table, basically meaning if the user did any kind of transaction. So we are doing that. If we don't have it, we're just gonna take 0, add it to the credit. If it is greater than 0, then we're gonna say that this credit limit breached is no, otherwise we're gonna say yes. And we need both of them because we need the user's ID and the username. So we need the user ID and the username over here. That's why we are actually joining it with that. What I'm wondering is, like, why are they doing the right join here? Yeah, the reason they did the right join is just because, if you're wondering why they are doing the right join, normally because we want them to fill it out even if they don't have any data, but the users, it does exist in the user with whatever credit they have, they're gonna make it to the result. So because we joined them later on, so this one, like, we are, once we have all that data and the users is getting joined afterwards, that's why we are doing the right join. You can also say select, like, everything what you are saying from the users, and then left join and this transaction, this table which you just created. So you can do either way, right? So that's the reason, because the users is being used afterwards, that's why there is a right join, and they're going to be joining them on the user ID, and we have to group them by the user ID. That's all I wanted to cover in this video. Thanks for watching.